This is the Recovery Lab.
Here we dive deep into the struggles, victories, and hope that stem from recovery.
No shame, no judgment, just truth, grace, and inspiration.
Let's walk this road together.
Hey guys, welcome back to Recovery Lab. This is episode 143. My name is Brynn Knox.
I'm David Sugg.
I'm Daniel Anderson.
And we have a Ruth Ann Rigby recommended guest today that I'm really excited to get to know, Stephanie Hathorn. Welcome, Stephanie.
Hey, Stephanie.
Hey, Stephanie.
Hey guys.
How are you today?
I am good. I'm excited to be with you guys.
Yeah.
Excited to learn a little bit and share a little bit.
Yeah. So where are you located right now?
In this very moment, I'm actually in my barn loft. I am in Mount Olive, so probably about 50 miles south of the Jackson metro area.
I want to.
And it's fun. It's so much fun. It's a lot of work, but it's so much fun. So I actually can see clients in the office here in the loft and also out in the pasture and in the field working with the horses.
Nice. Okay. All right. So yeah, let's get into that. So you work with shepherd staff, right?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Tell us about that.
So I have been with shepherd staff since 2017, and I currently work 3 days a week, Monday through Wednesday there, and see clients in my office. It's a great team of people. And then Thursdays and Fridays, I work here in Mount Olive. I also live in Mount Olive. So Thursdays and Fridays, my commute is a little bit less. I just hop over about a 2-minute drive to my barn and see clients here. But yeah, I love the shepherd staff. After I graduated with my master's in counseling in 2012, spent a few years on my own. I'm so thankful that I ended up at the shepherd staff in 2017. It's a good place to be.
What did you like about them that where you were like, okay, this is where I need to be?
I think it's kind of crazy. I started my own therapeutic journey there back in 2000 and was seeing a therapist at the shepherd staff. And it was always for me just such a sacred place, a sacred space that helped me in so many ways, a variety of ways through my own journey with anxiety disorder and some depression and just life transitions. I was going to college and really started struggling with some generalized anxiety symptoms and panic. And so mainly it held a sacred place in my heart because that was where my therapy journey started. And the reputation that it carries in the community, it's been around since the year of my birth in 1981. And so just carries a pretty strong reputation of solid therapist and a solid community, a working community.
If you don't mind me asking, what was it that made you realize like, okay, maybe this isn't just like normal anxiety, like I need to get help for this? Like, was that hard for you to reach out? What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was very hard for me to reach out. At the time, I didn't really know what was happening, but I knew that the transition for me from just high school life into college life was pretty drastically, I guess, terrifying. So panic attacks started. My parents, I think back at that point, therapy was still somewhat taboo.
Mm-hmm.
In the late 90s, early 2000s, and I didn't really have family members that had gone to therapy. My parents, we didn't talk about therapy. We didn't really talk about mental health stuff, even though I had a dad who had an alcoholic father, a father who struggled with alcoholism for most of his young adult life, and then later sought rehab and treatment and was in recovery. And also, my dad's mom committed suicide when I was 7. And so I think a lot of it, and she also had her own mental health issues, but also dependency on medications, um, and had done several stints in treatment facilities that just did not. She just couldn't. She couldn't do it. She didn't win the battle. So it just a lot of taboo, a lot of, I think, still the culture of if we don't talk about it, it's not a thing,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
And so I think I hit I hit a rock bottom, and I'm thankful to the Lord in a lot of ways that I did, because here I sit and I get to help people, and I can use all of the multiple hard things that I have been through to empathize and share hope with people.
So your own personal journey with the anxiety and the depression and all that in college is that's what sort of led you into wanting to get into the field of counseling?
hmm It
Like,
is.
is that where you
I
met, Ruth Glaze?
So Ruth, dear Ruth, I met Ruth not until I started working at the Shepherd staff,
Mhm.
and she was my neighbor, my office neighbor,
Hmm.
and she was also very much like a mother figure.
Yeah.
She was the wise one that was always ready to share some beautiful truth and wisdom.
I bet it wasn't a coincidence that you were in the office next to her. You know what I mean? Do you ever, like, look at things like that relationship? Like, I don't know, because
Mm,
just from what I've heard, Ruth Ann told me, I asked her, I said, "What do you love about Stephanie so much?" And she said that, Ruth Glaze just adored you, and that's the
mm,
biggest compliment anyone can receive.
mm. Yeah, I think that is one of the biggest compliments. Yeah, I don't think that it was by coincidence. I think it was very God ordained,
Mm.
that I was able to work alongside her for the years that I was able to. She shepherded me in a lot of ways, and also, if I had a breakdown, I remember one specific time of, having somewhat of an anxiety panic breakdown and going into the conference room and just laying flat on the floor so I could regulate myself before the next session. And I opened my eyes, and she's standing over me looking and saying, "Sweet Stephanie, let me help you breathe." So she shepherded me in a lot of ways, not just how to help and love people really, really well, but also how to love myself and take care of myself really well.
Yeah. I can't help but wonder if my therapist ever had to lay down on the floor after one of our sessions. You know what I mean?
I love that. We we are people too. We are people too, right?
I love it. That's so good to know. You know what
Yes,
I
absolutely, absolutely. And we go to our own therapy. I'm an every other weeker. Every other week I'm like, "Hello, therapist. I am here to share all of the things."
Yeah, it's great. One of the things that I struggle with in therapy, well, not struggle with in therapy, the thing I love most about therapy, but also hate most is like the accountability to take action because I don't want to go in there the next time and be like, hey, that thing that we talked about,
It was going to
I
be
didn't do
really
anything about it.
helpful for me.
And I find
That's
myself doing that a lot. Like, I don't want to go to my next session because I was supposed to do something and I haven't done it yet. Hopefully, Terry's
that's
not listening.
relatable. So relatable.
David,
Very relatable.
you go to therapy, right?
Yeah, yeah. Doing
What's
some work.
what's your experience with it been like?
It's been good. I have a little bit difficult time getting stuff out in some of I think the traditional methods. I've been doing like some tremor response work, so whatever that is, the tremor therapy.
Wait,
D
what's that?
That's where you get in a position and you initiate this certain movement that starts, just I can't really even describe it. It's, I can't remember tremor, I mean, you might know something about it, but anyways, that's, you get into, like, this a certain position where your muscles start to spasm, and it
Mm,
and it begins to cause just basically semi-controlled, uncontrollable tremors. That is a good way to get out trapped trauma.
wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So some talk therapy, I mean, to kinda get the thing going, but, I mean,
You gotta do that different stuff,
I
huh?
do like it, yeah. I come out feeling different.
Well,
Yeah.
speaking of different stuff, Stephanie, you do equine therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you say
I
equine or
do.
equine? We were having this discussion at lunch like a month ago.
Yeah, I think I go country with it again. I go equine. I draw that
Equine.
E out. So you can say it sounds a little bit more lovely when you say equine. Um, yeah, David, equine therapy might be good for you. You should come and
Yeah.
visit and just see what it's about, right?
Okay, tell me, sell me.
Yeah, so equine assisted psychotherapy is the model, and the particular certification that I have is through EGALA. Don't ask me to remember what those letters stand for, but it's great. It's a great association, great model. Everything is non-mounted. A lot of folks think that we are there initially before I educate some. They think that they're coming to ride horses. We are not a therapeutic riding
Mhm.
facility, and this model of equine therapy is all non-mounted. So you are feet on the ground. And it is an experiential model, very somatic in nature.
What is
And
what does that mean, experiential model? Like that's like you're just physically doing it? Is that
mhm,
what that means?
that's a part of it. Yeah, that is a part of it. But with the experiential models of therapy, the therapist is really trusting that the client has the resources to move themselves through the therapeutic process,
Ah,
right? We are trusting that we're creating a blank slate and we're moving into, let's say, the pasture or the field, and there are horses out there. I also have a mini donkey. I've got a mini mule.
that's
We're
adorable.
they're really cute. I'll have to show you guys some pictures later. But so we move into the space, and it's a blank slate. And in similar ways to play therapy, if you're familiar at all with that, I am not labeling. I'm not calling the horses horses. I'm not calling the donkeys donkeys. I am remaining very clean, very clean language, because what I want the client to do, this is the experiential nature of it, I want the client to start projecting themselves, their story, their narratives, their traumas, family members, relationships into the pasture, onto the animals.
What do you okay, go a little farther into that. Talk to me like I'm 4.
Okay. So basically, I'm going to walk into the pasture
Mhm.
and I'm going to take a client out there and I'm going to say, similar to play therapy, and there are other experiential models too, but I think a lot of people are familiar with play therapy. You know, I'm going to walk out into the field and take my client, and it would be me. And also, I'm the mental health professional and also a horse professional because we're a twofer, there's a team. And I'm going to say, all right, hey, welcome. What are your goals for today? Let's say
What do they
somebody
say?
somebody may say, you know, if it's a first time session, they may say, I'm really struggling. I'll use an easy one here. I'm really struggling with boundaries, right? Not easy in its work, but easy and just we'll grab that one.
Mhm.
I'm really struggling with boundaries. And so I will say, I'll give a send out. I may say, okay, so you want to work with boundaries. That's what I'm hearing you say. I'm going to send you out into this pasture, and I want you to notice what boundaries you see. Okay. So send out, give them a little time to interact, engage, or not, just to,
Like physical boundary.
and, and again, we're leaving it really open, really, some people can get frustrated with it because it's so broad. The nature of it is so clean. I'm being really clean with it. Like you go out and you see what you notice with boundaries. It's
Okay,
very non-directive.
got it.
And
Okay, that makes
even and even if somebody gets frustrated, that's grist for the mill. That's something that you can work with, right?
mhm.
So I will call them back and we will say, what'd you notice? What'd you notice in your body? What did you notice in the fields? What was happening out there? What was happening in here inside of you? Right.
Can I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, I have so many questions.
Yeah.
Um, okay, when you ask, like, "What do you feel in your body? Where do you feel that in your body?" Is there a
Mhm.
right answer? Because I always struggle with that question.
Never,
What's a
never a right answer.
what's a good answer?
I don't think there is a good answer. I hear a lot from clients, and I feel this myself sometimes. If my therapist asks me, I don't know how to answer that question.
Mm,
And I think the encouragement that I give is, what you're asking is there is no right or wrong answer, right? What do you notice? Do you notice sometimes I'll lead a little bit more? Do you notice any tension anywhere? Do you notice any tightness? Do you notice any certain emotions or feelings coming up? Do you have any thoughts that are maybe popping into your mind or on repeat? Are you curious about anything? Right?
mhm, okay.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. So what is it about horses that make them so wonderful with this kind of therapy? And
Mm,
like, go dive into that a little bit if you don't mind.
absolutely. It's so wild to me. I've questioned it so much when I was in grad school. Can I give a little bit of a back?
No,
Little.
you have the complete floor.
Okay. Okay.
I'm
Little bit of a back.
super curious about this.
Okay. Little bit of a backstory. When I was in grad school, I think it was 2011. I had done a paper, and it was my focus was a portion of my focus was on equine assisted psychotherapy because I just literally saw an article and I was like, that's interesting. And so I thought, this sounds really, I don't know about this. I just don't know. I had been a math teacher, which is really wacky. For 6 years, I was a school teacher before I went back and actually utilized my psychology bachelor's.
What grade did you teach?
Uh, fourth, fifth, and sixth.
Oh.
Sounds
Yeah,
Continue.
it was rough. But after seeing this article and reading it, I thought, I don't know about that. And then again, I think like this God ordained moment, a connection was made between my husband and a guy that he was cycling with, who had a facility, an equine assisted psychotherapy facility in Florida, and he invited me out. I was still in school just to kind of see what they do, and I was nervous and scared, and it was interesting to answer the question that the horses seemed to match that. Um, and so, why are horses so powerful? Well, they don't respond with words, they respond to the actual moment in the actual moment. So, it's very present time feedback that you're getting, right? They are prey animals. So, their nervous system is pretty keen, pretty aware, pretty spot on because they have to be. They have to take care of themselves. And they are also incredibly good at regulating their nervous systems, right? I can be out in the pasture with a horse and, some crazy sound might happen and they're boop, ears up, on alert, totally disengaged from me in that moment, looking to make sure that they're safe. And then, they're looking around, smelling, making some noises, and then oop, head back to me, getting some pats on the ears, or head back to the grass and they're eating. So they move in and out of their nervous system states just really quite fluidly, in my opinion. Um, and also, you're getting honest feedback. So if I go out into the pasture and it's proven itself time and time again, and I am anxious or irritable or whatever, um, some different feedbacks that I might get. I have one horse that if I'm anxious or irritable, he's going to come and he's going to lay his head on my shoulder
Aw,
and he's going to be with me and he's just going to be breathing. It's wild. It
that's
sounds wild.
crazy.
It's beautiful. I have another horse. If I approach her and I'm anxious or nervous, and she kind of makes me anxious or nervous because I love her, but she has a little bit of an attitude. Um, she's gonna throw her head back. She's gonna run away from me. She's not gonna stand present with me,
Mm.
right? And so if we're taking that, if I'm the client and we're putting me in the position of, in a session with what I just told you, that gives me a lot of real-time feedback to just reflect on with the client. Like, I wonder what's happening there, right? I wonder what this animal's nervous system is doing and what your nervous system is doing. How would you want that to be different? When have you felt this before in the past? Right? Does that make sense?
No, it
Yeah.
does. It's just
Yeah.
amazing. Like, I'm just kinda sitting here, like, in awe of, like, that an animal can do that, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, all right.
Mm-hmm.
So, like a lot of this, the horse is reacting to like our emotions. What happens when somebody's coming in and they're there because they want help, but they're not really being honest
Mm-hmm.
with themselves about like their emotions and what's going on in their life? Like, what is what does the interaction look like when the horse like really understands that this person is not being honest with them and with
Mm-hmm.
themselves? Like, how does that change the interaction between the horse and the patient or client or whatever you wanna call
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. They recognize the misalignment so well and again so keenly. I have had, I've had a client who has come in before and I'll change a little bit of the details, but you know, maybe one that has worked with boundaries. And she has stated up front, I want to work with boundaries, and this is really important to me. I'm having struggles in my friendships, and I feel like I'm giving and giving and giving, but I want to gain more of a voice, and I want to use my voice, and I don't want to be run over, and yada, yada, yada. Um, so she is working with one of my horses that is the top of the herd. He is the biggest horse that I have. And that's the one that she's drawn to immediately, right? And he's also very handsome and just really fun. And, a lot of people are drawn to him. So she is, as we're working, she's verbally throughout a few sessions telling me, I am doing this better and it's translating to outside. But I'm noticing that this particular horse is really pushing her boundaries, right? And she is allowing him to, nip at her pants or pull on her shirt, or he's taking his head and he's budging, butting his head against her hands pretty consistently. And she's just kind of giggling. And um, in the moment, I'm saying, well, I'm hearing you say that this is translating outside of this space, that you're able to set boundaries and take care of yourself. But in this moment, I'm wondering what's happening,
Mm.
right? The horse is showing us something. And it was in that moment, that she was able to start saying, well, I think there are a lot of ways that I'm still allowing others to really just take advantage of me. I'm being a pushover, and I think I really want to. It was really incredible. There's a lot of awareness and insight. I think I really want to start setting boundaries with this horse, right? And so next time she came back, we are the facilitator, me specifically, as well as the horse person that's with me. Um, we're working on, okay, how do you set a boundary with this horse? What does that look like? Well, I want to not work with him in session today and see what happens. Right. And I'm really pulling on her strengths and I'm really following her lead with what she wants to do in the session. Right. I want
Mhm.
to know what her choices are. I want to empower her because that's one of her goals, is to use that voice. And so she's not working with him. She's choosing another one to work with. Well, guess who's coming over? Boop, boop, boop. Here comes the horse that's really been challenging her boundaries. And so one of her ideas was, I want to halter him and I want to tie him up. And that was a pretty fierce boundary for her because she really loved this horse and really was worried about him not liking her or being mad at her, right? So she tied him up, and he stood there for a while, and she got to branch out and go and be with the other horses in the pasture. And that was a fierce boundary that she set. All right. And then fast forward, towards the end of her therapeutic journey here at the farm, uh, the most beautiful picture in my mind towards the end, she's, sitting on the ground, and that horse that she could have never sat on the ground with because he would have been pawing and licking and nipping and all of the things. He just took his head and rested it on the top of her head, and she closed her eyes and he closed his eyes and stood there. Like this mutual, I'm asking her what just happened. And she's like, it's a mutual respect and love for one another, but also a mutual understanding that we have to respect each other and our boundaries, right? And so much of this, she is creating this narrative. She's putting words to this narrative that is happening. And I think that's so much of the beauty of this. One of the most beautiful parts of this model is just pulling from the strengths of the client and allowing them to create the narrative and to feel empowered that they have the abilities to heal and work on their goals and achieve their goals.
You mentioned trust. Like, what role does trust play in equine therapy?
Mm. I think first and foremost, maybe this is obvious, maybe not, but first and foremost, there has to be a significant amount of trust with me
Mm-hmm.
and my horse person who's working alongside me, a horse professional. And then there also has to be a significant amount of respect and trust with the horses that we work with, right? So first that. When I was doing the training, I initially did training back in 2014 and 16. And then when I actually got my own horses and started doing this work a couple of years ago and did my own training, that was something I was really fearful of. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. How do I do this?
I bet that
And
was overwhelming.
oh, so scary and so overwhelming. And a horse professional told me at one of the trainings, she was so delightful. She said, you know your horses. Trust your horses, know your horses, be mindful of their behavioral patterns. Like that's where you start, right? And so I think it's okay, and it's actually pretty normal for my clients to show up and really not trust the process or trust what's going to happen or trust what is happening or may happen or even trust the horses,
Yeah, there's
right?
a lot of skepticism, huh?
Hmm. A lot of skepticism, which is fine. I embrace that. We embrace it and we walk it out. And most every time there is a significant amount of trust that is built with the client or clients and a horse or a few horses. And it's a really, again, a beautiful thing to watch. I say that a lot, like it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Um, and I think experiencing it and seeing it, there's such beauty in it.
Mm.
You mentioned that someone like me not do well with it with some nonverbal stuff. What is it that makes a good candidate for equine therapy, and how do you kind of decide when it might be like? How does someone find you? Is it a referral? Someone saying, "Hey, you're not really responding to some of this other therapy. Let's put you in this other setting," or are they finding you because of just regular old marketing, or what?
Not regular old marketing. Usually, it's been a gift in that it really has just fit nicely in with my office practice. And it has been when I hit a roadblock with a client, or if I have a client that maybe is, really cognitive or struggles to process or speak to things that are happening inside of them or have happened in the past, um, oftentimes I'll say, hey, this is an option. If you're willing to drive down, we can do a session or we can do a few sessions, right? People that I practice with will refer to me, and then other practices as well will refer. I've recently had a lot of ADHD kiddos, right? Parents who were like, help. It's a lot of the work that I do is with neurodiversity. Um, and
Ooh,
so
that. What is
talk
that?
about that.
Yeah.
It's been interesting. Little bit of a rabbit hole. I am just really passionate about, have a lot of compassion for the families, for the parents, especially who have kids that are, on the spectrum of neurodiversity, whether it be ADHD, autism, dyslexia, whatever, learning issues. That has been a growing passion for me. Also being, an ADHDer myself, my three kids, ADHD, um, with some other learning stuff going on. So very passionate about that. And so one of the things that I have done and plan to do more of in the future, in the very near future, is I have had a group for little boys who are on the autism spectrum. And it's been more of a strength-based group where we lead a horse, or we are co-regulating with the horses. We're breathing, we're hands-on horses. We're not doing a lot of the experiential stuff, right? Because we can go in and out of the experiential. The EAP model is experiential in nature, but I can tweak, I can make it more direct, just like we do with play therapy. I can, you know, have them create things in the pasture to walk the horses through. But with the neurodiversity, I've really enjoyed helping the parents to help their kids better regulate is often the request and the goal that the parents have. And then also helping the parents parent children who are somewhere on the spectrum of neurodiversity. Um, and that might look like getting the parents out into the pasture with the kids, which is always really fun as well. Like how I get to see how the parent is responding and the child is there, whether it's a teenager or it's a 7-year-old. And I get to give feedback about, how does this translate to home? What are you noticing outside? Getting feedback from the child, getting feedback from the teenager is always really fun. When the parent's in session as well. So it's fascinating. And, there's some challenges too. I have had some clients who are on the autism spectrum who did not want to do the touching of the horses because of some sensory issues, right? Or
Yeah.
didn't want to, they had some fears about the bigness of the horses and would get really dysregulated. And so that left me with opportunities to say, how do you want to take care of yourself? I want to leave. I want to go outside and watch. So we'll step outside of the pasture and we get to observe, right? So there's a lot of creativity. I'm always kind of on my feet and having to think through. And, if I hit a wall myself as a practitioner, we step outside and we regulate. I regulate with and breathe with and get curious about what we could do next. And sometimes that's, let's go find a rock. Let's go look in that rock pile that's over there by the barn, right? So just a lot of creative space to be.
What do you think about the idea that maybe of the past, millennia, we've been living in these spaces where we've been around animals and in kind of farm settings, or at least around some stuff with more regularity than we are now. and maybe we've kind of lost something in our society with podcasts and screens and isolation and video games. And maybe what you're doing is really, of course, you're working with some people who are in distress or wanting to put in the work now, but maybe all of us are kind of missing some of that back to environmental regulation and kind of being out with things that are responding to our kind of ourselves, and we're not aware of it anymore. Do you ever think about how many people could probably it might not just be limited to people with severe anxiety or other stuff?
I totally agree with you. I totally agree. I think that's one of the major gifts for me personally is, I grew up around all of this. I grew up with, grandfathers who were in the services and retired and became farmers. And I grew up, milking a cow and riding mama cow, my granddaddy's cow, I grew up, jumping off of hay bales.
Mm.
And I agree with you that this is not just for anxiety, depression, trauma, things like that. Of course, it's extremely effective for that. But I think we are missing the grounding of nature on the day to day, the grounding of animals, the grounding of the sunshine and the grass under our feet or the dirt on our hands. Yeah, I agree. It is the natural God given grounding gift, right? To be standing next to 1,500-pound horse who is looking at me and I'm scratching his ears and I'm thinking, I wonder what's going on in his mind right now. Wow, how beautiful this is to have him trust me. In this moment, I am here. In this moment, I am present, and this creature is present with me.
Mhm.
Right? It is something that I think broadly we very much lack, and I'm guilty of it too. Running to the next, busy, 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 doing way too much. But when I come back to this space, or even if I'm at home and I go back and sit outside on the ground, I'm reminded of the gift that we have, the tangible gift of just being in nature,
Mhm.
wherever we are.
Yeah, a lot of times when we get sober, they tell us before we get in a relationship to go get a house plant. They like keep the
Yes.
house plant alive for a little while, and then okay, then you can graduate maybe to a gerbil or something, and then a cat. But taking care of animals and stuff is just a great way to learn things about ourselves. It's just really difficult to do when you can, I don't know, you can get attention from people in other ways that you just can't get from the animals. You got to really take care of them. They know when you're full of it. They know when you're mad. I've got a
Yes.
therapy lab right now that knows. I mean, I don't have to say anything, and then she just come up in my lap and be like, she knows whenever I'm upset. She'll cower if I'm really, really, really mad, and I start regulating just because I know, like, okay, I need to chill out. I need to be upset because you don't want to piss off. You don't hurt your lab. If
Right.
you're hurting your lab just by being in the room, like there's something going on. But
Yes.
I don't have that connection with people. When I have that, when I can walk into a room sometime, I can know like people are not really happy I'm here, and I don't really care. I'm just like whatever. But as soon as my lab's a little distressed, I'm like, I got to do something about this. So, yeah, right. So, can you tell me a story specific about how you might have seen somebody deal with some addiction stuff with some of your therapy?
Yes, I can. My initial introduction to this work was at the farm, the facility in Flora. And the work that they did there, I'm not sure if they still do it. I know they do individual, but the work that they did was with groups who were in treatment. And so the treatment facility would bring, there was a group of girls, women, a group of men, and they would alternate kind of every other week, right? One week was for the women, and the next week, maybe an off week, and then a group for men. And that work, I did that for maybe a year and a half to 2 years with them. That work was what won me over. to see someone who was so, I don't know, one story sticks out. There was a gentleman who was just so fierce and off-putting to me personally, and I'm sure a lot of it was just my own stuff coming up, and it was his stuff as well. And he wanted to dominate the group, and he wanted to dominate the horses, just a lot of control um, that he was seeking. And looking back now, makes a lot more sense to me now as a more seasoned therapist than it did, fresh out of school, a baby therapist. But the horses weren't having it. And there was one horse in particular that was not having it. And one of the activities that we were doing had to do with creating an obstacle course and having to work together. The gentlemen had to work together as a team to get certain horses through certain sections of the obstacle course. And he had kind of hyper focused on this one horse, and it was one of the smaller horses. And what he didn't realize was it was one of the sassiest horses, right? And so he had haltered up and was really being tough on the horse and was really trying to get the horse to do what he wanted the horse to do. And she was not having it. And she was giving signals and trying to let him know. And she took and she took and she'd give a signal. And, the signals being like she's pulling away, she's pulling her head back, her ears are back, which is like, leave me alone, I'm mad. I say the horses kind of go into looking like a dragon. Their ears go really flat and they're like stick their heads and necks out. But he just wasn't paying attention to those signals, and she ended up biting him, right? And at that moment, that was a really pivotal moment where the gentleman therapist, the addiction therapist that was leading the group, could really just step away and highlight like this right here. How are you doing this out there? Like, how is this playing out? I just watched all of this play out with this horse, right? And it did not go well for you. This did not go well for you. So how is it working out there? And that just opened up just a lot of space for him to get really vulnerable and really honest with himself. And really did some incredible work for the rest of that week that we were together with that particular group. So it's fascinating.
Be honest, when he got bit, were you like,
I was glad. I was like, that's what you get.
Yeah.
What you get. Right. Now I probably would again be a little bit more I don't know, maybe a little more empathetic or compassionate in that moment. But he was trying to let him know, buddy, but he wasn't having it.
it sounds like he had it coming.
Uh-huh. Absolutely.
That was great. That was my favorite part of the story.
So in line with that, thinking about people that are in treatment, coming out and getting some time in the pasture with you, is there some pre-work that needs to kind of happen? Because a lot of times just being open and being able to even tap into kind of the interoception, what's happening inside is difficult. And you're just bringing somebody straight off the druggy buggy into the field and saying, hey, that's the horse. So I'm curious, what kind of pre-work needs to happen? And then how long you said they spent a week with you? Were they spending an hour a day for a week? How long before they were able to make some breakthroughs?
Good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. I didn't highlight that. So I'll come back to the pre-work. They were coming out for that week and they were spending 5 or 6 hours with us a day.
Wow.
So we would do a really intensive, morning session, and we'd break and we had lunch. They would bring their lunches, we would eat. And then we would go back out into the afternoon session and do the intensive in the afternoon. So it was very long days and very emotionally taxing for everybody, that was involved, but so rewarding. And, for some of them, a breakthrough would happen day one. Sometimes I have clients that come out and it's immediately something hits them, right? And we're feeling or we're talking or processing something that's coming up. I find that, I know I'm rabbit trailing just a little bit, and I promise I'll come back to what you asked. I find that this work, it tends to expedite, in my opinion, the therapeutic process in a lot of ways. And again, I think that has to do with the experiential nature of it. The client is empowered to, to work on their healing and their goals, to use their voice, to set boundaries, and et cetera. But as far as pre-work, I don't know. I think that I am ignorant in some ways to recovery and treatment and what that looks like, with all the minutia and details of it. I can speak to my experience. I do have some clients who are in recovery, 6 months out, a month out, a year, 2 years out, and I have had some of them come out and participate in the equine work. And one of the biggest pieces of feedback that I get is the ability to be vulnerable with the animal, similarly to what you said earlier, David. I think it feels safer. It feels more powerful to start there, and then to be able to take that outside of this space, the equine space, right? So I'm not really sure how to answer the question about the pre-work or what might need to happen beforehand. But a lot of my folks are plugged in to, AA or NA. They're staying tied to community and their sponsors, and some of them are, doing ice plunges and other somatic work in a variety of places around the Jackson area. And this is a great add-on to the talk therapy and to all of the other stuff, to keep them, again, to use the word grounded, and to keep them honest, and to keep them accountable, and to work through a lot of the hurts that are deep down at the core that led to them using in the first place.
That's super cool to hear you talk about it. I don't know that I'm kind of remiss that I never had the opportunity to go do it.
I know we need a
Yeah,
field
maybe we
trip.
should get out there and get some.
Field trip.
Yeah.
Any
So if someone is listening and would be interested, me and Brynn,
Mhm.
how would we go about doing that? Is it a cash pay? Is it insurance? Do we book online? Tell us what the process might look like.
Yeah, you can actually schedule through, if you call the shepherd staff, you can schedule through the shepherd staff. Kim or Judy, who are the office managers, they can get you scheduled. The shepherd staff in Flowood,
Okay.
and again, they'll schedule it for you. I am a Blue Cross Blue Shield provider, and so I do accept Blue Cross insurance and also do cash pay. And also, one of the things that I'm passionate about is I run some free groups. And so right now I'm putting together a funnily enough, and this is not missed. I'm not missing this,
Yeah.
but a social anxiety group right
Mm.
now, and it's pro bono. And so I market some on my Facebook page for that, and it's just Broken Branch Equine Assisted Psychotherapy. And also, we have done some kids groups for free. The autism spectrum voice group was pro bono as well. I've done a skills group for little girls, just life skills. So cash pay, insurance pay, and then sometimes, again, my way of giving back and sharing this beautiful model is I like to keep some sort of a group going that is free for
What's
people to see what it's like.
what's a typical initial session look like? Is it like an hour, hour and a half? Because it seems like, I mean, with it being a big kind of outdoors, I don't know,
hmm
weather permitting kind of thing. I'm just
hmm
curious, like what's that look like?
First session, every session typically is about an hour, hour and 15, sometimes hour 30. Hour 30 is kind of the sweet spot for me.
Yeah.
You've got time, like you said, you're outdoors, kind of start upstairs. Do we need a ball cap? Do we need some water? All right, let's go down into the barn. Let's get our stuff and take it out into the pasture. If it's raining, we'll be in the barn doing some grooming of the horses and some regulating there, some meditation. So hour and a half. Some of the groups, most of the groups that I have done, they're 2-hour groups. And it was once a week on a Friday, a 2-hour group. So group work, a lot of times you want more time, obvious reasons. You've got more people and more processing. So I would say 2 to 3 hours for a group is a sweet spot, in my opinion, for this type of work.
Cool. I remember one time my buddy had some horses and I had a dog that I was super proud of. And I was like, I asked him, I said, who do you think's smarter, my dog or your horse? And we got into a little debate about it. And it's funny, that happened almost like 15 years ago. But I still think about it because I want my dog to be smarter than a horse. But when you described at the beginning of the episode, just how the horse is just different, in species and how it's a prey animal. It's not a predator. And we know that prey animals have their eyes far apart, and predator animals have their eyes close. You're kind of preyish. You kind of have your eyes. But I never even thought about it. Just it's not about being smarter or not. They're just wired different. They're picking up on different things. They're designed different. I think horses and dogs are both maybe packish, but for one hunts and one doesn't. One
That's
is
right.
very, very, I think probably closer to man. I think horses are probably closer to man than I think of. But anyways, just interesting to hear you kind of describe that because I think it finally puts to rest my 15-year-old quandary of who's smarter. My dog who's gone now because it was 15
Oh,
years
buddy.
ago. I still think about it. I hold on to some stuff.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I would love for y'all, if you are ever interested, I would love for you guys to come out and experience it anytime you want to. It's on me. So you guys feel free to just come and be here and hang, and we could do some team building. Not that you need it.
We're literally
right. Right. Like, come on.
Look out the window.
I love it.
Yeah.
So anytime you guys would want to do that, I welcome you.
Well, I'm definitely going to text you after this and get because I don't know. That sounds like amazing. And I really want to do it. I want my son to do it too. But anyways, thank you so much I'm so glad Ruth Ann gave me your information and because I had no idea this was there and hopefully it's helped other people and given them a new resource if they're struggling with their regular old talk therapy or haven't tried therapy and want to try something like this. I just think it's incredible the work that you do. So we're grateful that you came on here and I'm excited for everyone that gets a chance to hear this.
Yeah, thank y'all. Like what a wild and random, so fun to get a text from you, Brynn, to say like, hey, Ruth Ann. And I'm like you. If Ruth Ann says something like, hey, you should talk to Steph, I'm like, oh, I gotta do it.
Exactly.
Because I love Ruth Ann, right? Ruth Ann she's queen. So we gotta do it.
She is queen.
So I love her.
Well, thank you for saying yes. And
absolutely.
Yeah, we'll see everyone next week.